Hello there, my very good friends. Andy Murray here, WhatCulture Wrestling. Michael Sidgwick here, WhatCulture Wrestling. Afternoon bit of news, and not something you ever really want to have to jump into the studio and report on, but Mustafa Ali no longer working for WWE. This is literally the extent of what we know at this stage. Ali tweeted literally 8 minutes ago, at the time we're sitting here. Eagle Eye Cherry over here, keeping track of things on Twitter, spotted it.
Skiving.
Yeah, okay. Mustafa Ali tweeted the following: I am no longer with WWE. I look forward to the future. Thank you, Adil, which is, of course, his real name, Adil Alam. Now, Mustafa Ali's had a pretty complicated relationship with WWE over the past few years. Of course, it wasn't so long ago that he actually asked to be let go by the company, which he documented on Twitter. He was very transparent about that. He was like, hey, I've asked to leave, don't know what's going to happen. He was taken off television for a few months shortly after that. He eventually ended up returning to the company. I don't recall if there was any ever confirmation that he'd renewed or anything like that, but it did come out soon after that they'd rejected the request to let him go, which I've always found a bit of a sketchy tactic.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't want to work for your company, hey, let them go, man. Let them go. Obviously, Mustafa Ali's a tremendous pro wrestler, and you want to employ tremendous pro wrestlers. But if people aren't happy under your roof, it's best to not hold them to it. But he's been with WWE for a long ass time. Was it the Cruiserweight Classic he came in through 2016?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, he was a competitor in that. He wasn't one of the more well-known people in that tournament. You were Kota Ibushi, your Zack Sabre Jr.'s, people like that. But Mustafa Ali had a rep from competing at freelance wrestling up in Chicago, like up the road from Gateshead.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
I wish I'd go and see AEW 30 times a year.
That'd be sensational.
Yeah.
Also, Chicago, best city in the US. Come at me. Other cities. Not entire populations, that'd be mean. So yeah, he's been in WWE's ecosystem for about 7 years. More recently, he's been active on NXT. And it's quite surprising that a gentleman who is booked for no mercy
Yes.
has gone for the company. Michael Sidgwick, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, well, this is completely shocking as I'm an avid NXT 2.0. It's still 2.0 in my hard viewer. He's been prominent in storylines. If you're unfamiliar with his recent work, he's sort of playing that heel role who masquerades as a babyface in that sort of Kurt Angle vein, but a quite like a spin-off of that, basically. To be perfectly honest, my subjective take is that it is yet another WWE role that doesn't flatter him nor make the very best use of his skill set. Now, I'm not saying he's a performer who doesn't have any range. We haven't really seen that, but every time I watched Mustafa Ali at his best, he played an incredibly sympathetic, likable babyface, and they could just never really let him do that. It never really clicked for him in that role. It's a very bizarre Wikipedia page, like an incredibly bizarre, even by modern WWE standards, Wikipedia page is Mustafa Ali. He obviously had that incredible run opposite Planet's Champion itself, a brilliant run.
Yes,
Daniel
fantastic.
Bryan on SmackDown in late 2018, early 2019. Their chemistry was such, the support behind Ali was such, that it was mooted that he might even make the main event of WrestleMania 35 before, and a really unfortunately timed injury derailed all of that. And not to be too cynical about things, it was pretty much all downhill since. He was repackaged as the Hacker. Well, that was retrospective, wasn't it, when he joined Retribution, itself a disaster.
One of the worst stables in WWE history.
It was just absolutely tragic. Absolutely terrible use of talent, a complete and utter punchline to such an extent that the members took the piss out of themselves on Twitter because they knew damn well that it was probably the best way to save face was to own up to how rubbish they themselves found it.
Well, when your ring name is literally changed to Slapdick.
Slapdick, man.
Slapjack.
I thought you did a joke.
What is possible?
Slapdick, T-bar. They looked like, grunts from a 80s Turtles cartoon. It was a complete joke.
They looked like the guys hanging out in the background on a Street Fighter level when you were beating up Ryu.
Yes, absolutely. But like unironically.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like sort of a, ironic sort of like, people love 80s nostalgia. It wasn't even that. It was just absolutely dire. And then, Ali also, every time he was on Raw Talk, was just adamant that it was his time, he should receive opportunities. And as bad as Retribution was, we can't forget the creative that he was allegedly meant to be saddled with, which I don't even want to speak back into existence. It was that horrendous. You know what I mean? It was absolutely disgusting. So the short way of saying all of this is that performer and that company were not a great fit whatsoever. Recently on X, even when he seemed to be on better terms with the company, he still, you know, passively aggressively, as was his right, just kind of said, how can I leave?
Yeah,
how can I leave and all the rest of it? And, you know, his wish has been granted if indeed that is the case. Murray, you're Tony Khan. People in the comments are going to ask this, so you might as well sort of anticipate that. You're Tony Khan. You have signed 70% of the pro wrestling workforce already. Do you want Mustafa Ali?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, me too.
I do. The circumstances are that Mustafa Ali is going to come in and get a chance to flex his creativity. I said credibility. To flex his creativity, because we've seen that in flashes. I remember when he was doing those grainy, like, Back Alley style vignettes on SmackDown, I think it was, for a while. It was like, oh, this feels like really different to the mainline WWE product. It's not like really glossy. It's like, it feels like a DIY project airing on national television, and that's really cool. It stands out, but it never really went anywhere. If he has the opportunity to utilize that kind of creativity, and of course do what he can in the ring, he's a tremendous pro wrestler. AEW is full of tremendous pro wrestlers, but Mustafa Ali would be another one. So there you go. Yeah, absolutely. The question for me is, at this stage in AEW, we know what the promotion is in terms of how wrestlers are used and how they kind of cycle in and out of use, often within a few weeks of debuting. If I'm Mustafa Ali, I may be looking at that roster personally and going, I don't know if I'm going to be on TV as much as I want. That's not a given upon leaving WWE, that an underutilized wrestler there now is going to be on TV every single week. So I think it's actually a pretty complex decision. On the surface, yes, you want to sign a tremendous pro wrestler, very well-liked guy as well. And I've always liked Mustafa Ali personally as well. I think he comes across as a very nice and principled gentleman. Yeah. And I wish him all the best in his pro wrestling career as always.
If you want to be cynical about it as well, it's not just that he appears nice. Like, from a marketing perspective, he's got such an incredible real-life human interest story that you could promote, market, and use that to fashion him into the babyface that he should have always been. Again, to hammer down that point, he really should have been that babyface all along. Exploit that incredible human interest story. I'm really looking forward to what he does next. I personally think AEW is probably overstuffed with talent, but on the flip side, that content farm era is imminent. There are heavy rumours that they are expanding their pay-per-view calendar as they potentially delve into the streaming realm. Collision, you know, it's still doing really decent numbers, I think, personally, for a not particularly great time slot. So there's 5 hours of first-run content every single week. And there's Ring of Honor, you know, if Tony Khan doesn't deem him, you know, it could be a rehabilitation project, because Ali's got that stigma now, unfortunately. Yeah. As talented as he is, he's got that stigma of being in WWE, demoted, if you like, to NXT. He's got that just a guy, which is a shame, because he's not just anyone. So maybe ROH. You know what, you could go to New Japan.
He could, yeah.
They really take their junior heavyweight division seriously to this day.
He would be a breath of fresh air in that junior, and plenty of great people for him to wrestle there as well. Look, we'll just wrap this one up real quick, but obviously there's been lots of rumours about releases in WWE. We don't know the circumstances of Mustafa Ali's separation from the company. We don't know anything to that effect. All we have at this stage is the tweet, so we're going to leave it at that. If we have more information, we'll obviously come on and aggregate the stories as we always do. But thank you for your time. We love you. We appreciate you. Best wishes to Mustafa Ali. I'm sure whatever he does next, he's going to kill it. See you later.